Hello everybody and welcome back to your 10 minutes of Eve. I am Casuality, and if you like this format and its content, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. Last time we looked at the different career options which are open to players, namely mining, industry, exploration and combat. Today we will concern ourselves with an aspect of the game which is extremely important, but nevertheless often overlooked, because, if it's done correctly, it happens mostly in the background. And we are talking about skill training. Skills define your character, no doubt about that. ISK may be nice, being rich and everything, but you can be as rich as you want and may buy what you want. Without the right skills trained to the right level, you will not be able to use the many items Eve has to offer, or at least not as effectively as possible. Therefore, in Eve, literally, you are what you can fly, and that is defined by a character's skills. As long as you remember to add skills to your training queue, found down below here, your actively training character will improve passively even when logged out, and as skill points accumulate in real time. So this character is an alpha and he has exceeded the 5 million skill point mark, so he cannot train any skills anymore in the training queue. But before that point, or as an omega, you would just drag and drop your skills down here, which the game tells us is not possible anymore. Skills accumulate passively, but not identically for every character, and it is possible to get a little bit more out of your skill training with a little preparation, the right equipment, and a basic understanding of the mechanics. So, for example, let's look at the diplomacy skill, the show info, and you see that a primary attribute, charisma, and a secondary attribute, intelligence, is associated with this skill. And if you look at the social subcategory, you will see that this is the same for all, or it says here in the tooltip that charisma is a primary attribute for all the skills in this subcategory, as is intelligence, the primary attribute. And the general calculation is as follows. For each point in a primary attribute, a character trains 1 skill point per minute, and for the secondary attribute, it contributes 50% or 0.5 skill points per minute, and this is added for each skill. Alpha clones sadly only receive half of that, even though the tooltips or the way it is shown may suggest otherwise. Here it says clone state omega required for 2 times training speed, but in fact omega clones train at the speed they have been training before the distinction was made between alpha and omega, so this is the original training speed, and alphas are reduced by 50%. Mathematically the statement may be true, but depending from the point of view, I would say alpha train 50% of omega training speed. So if, for example, I would want to train diplomacy, I would then have to look at my character's attributes. I have 22 points in charisma, giving me 22 points per minute, and I have 23 in intelligence, resulting in 11.5 points per minute, and that would be 33.5 skill training points per minute, and then divided by 2 because we have an alpha clone. And this kind of calculation you could do for all skills. This is the basic attribute distribution which every new character starts with, and therefore all starting characters start to train all skills equally fast. However, Eve would not be Eve if there would be no way to tweak this standard. The first way would be to improve attributes with implants, and seen in the augmentations tab here. And as you can see, I have basic called implants here, which improve my skills or my attributes by 3 points. And as I have a basic type implant, that's true for all attributes. So in your mind you would have to deduct 3 points from every attribute to get at the naked attribute value, which is 20 for all attributes save for charisma, which is 19. And I have talked about the basic quality type, meaning of course there are a lot more. As you can see, there are in the implant section in the market, you can buy implants for all of the 5 attributes slots, and there are quite a lot of them at very different prices. And different effects. So for this, for example, would be the basic one, giving you 1 additional point. Then you have the beta for 2. Standard would be 4. The improved is the best one, 5. And somewhere here the basic one is hidden. Here, memory augmentation basic, which we have. And as usually, this comes with some requirements. You can use the best implants only if you train up your cybernetics skill to 5, which you can find in the neural enhancement subcategory. But as you can see, my character has only 1 point trained in cybernetics and is able to use the 3-point enhancement already. And if you want to use the standard, which adds 4 points, you only need cybernetics 4. Yeah, sadly this is not possible, but even 3 points addition by implants is very well within your reach. One word to implants. You can plug them into your character, but you cannot remove them, or rather, if you unplug them, they will be destroyed. So make your choices not lightly, but think about it, how much you want to invest. And but at least for the attribute enhancers, you cannot do much wrong with better attributes. The real issues may come in the other implant slots where you can improve other aspects of your character, but that will not be a topic of today. The second way to change your loadout, you could say, is by using the neural remap function. Neural remap specializes your character and therefore makes most sense if you have a long-lasting skilling plan, preferably of a year or longer, because you will receive a new remap only after a year. But as a new character, you also have 2 bonus remaps. So if I would go to Remap, I have this little window here, and there I could remove all skill points, meaning I reduce everything to 17, and then I could think of which attributes I want to improve. If you remap, only a full min-max approach makes sense in my opinion because of your long-lasting commitment. As I said, usually after you have used up your bonus remaps, a new remap is only possible after 1 year. And min-max means you would put the maximum possible amount of skill points into your desired primary, the rest into the secondary, and leave the rest at the basic value. So we were trying to increase diplomacy, meaning charisma would be our primary attribute, and with this distribution of skill points we would be training 42 skill points per minute, or as an alpha half of that, instead of, what was it before, 33.5 or something. So a substantial increase which will really accumulate fast over time, but I don't want to really do that right now. You should also keep in mind, by min-maxing you will get stronger in one combination of attributes, but this also means you will be weak or weaker in all other combinations. And there's no way to increase the number of attribute points, you can only redistribute them. You can also temporarily increase your attribute points through boosters. Those can be bought on the market. These are combat boosters. Oh no, here, cerebral accelerators, bad preparation. Some of them, or those boosters, as you can see, will always increase all of the attributes equally and for a certain duration. Because the booster will increase all your attributes, you don't have to be on the lookout that a booster may only boost a certain attribute, and you would have to look for the right one to further support your primary and secondary attribute. So at least that's one worry less. And the booster duration can also be increased by training the biology skill. Each level in biology will increase the duration by 20%, so if you plan to use boosters regularly, this is a very worthwhile investment. Boosters drop from events, but can also be sold on the market, as you can see, but the available numbers may be low, and other than that, your use of boosters is only limited by the amount of money you want to spend, and you can only have one active booster at any time. And yet another way to improve training is to buy special items, namely the multiple pilot training certificate, which allows you to train one additional character per account. So if you would buy 2 of these, you could train all 3 of your characters in the account parallel, but this is quite pricey. And then you have skill injectors. You have daily alpha injectors, which, surprise, surprise, may only be used by alpha clone characters and only once per day. And they will grant you 50,000 of those unallocated skill points. And then you have large and small skill extractors, which will provide 500,000 for the large one and 100,000 for the small one, but with diminishing returns, which you can see here. Essentially, the more skill points your character has already accumulated, the less he will receive from the injector. So if you have a veteran of 80 million, which has already accumulated 80 million or more skill points, an injector will only give 150,000 additional skill points instead of 500,000. Okay, one final tip for alpha clones. If you start out, you can, as I said, add skills to your training queue, but only to the point when the last added skill exceeds the 24 hours accumulated training time. But it does not matter by how much this last skill exceeds the 24-hour mark. So the best way to train would be to squeeze as many fast training skill levels in the queue and just stay below 24 hours and then add one skill which has a long training time. This way you can manage to have as few downtime as possible if you cannot log in daily or take care of your training queue regularly. However, if you miss one or two occasions and the queue stops, it's no game changer in the end, unless you forget training for weeks or months. Okay, I hope I could explain this important mechanic to you and make you aware of some pitfalls, and if you're interested, I would be happy to see you again next time.